Took me 36 hours to wrap that RV with a paper towel and a credit card.
Okay, cool. I can wrap anything. This is 17,000 square foot of vinyl.
Let's make a race car, Doc Hudson race car, for Paul Newman.
So we wrapped a toilet.
This ain't the business for you, buddy.
Yeah. I almost cried the whole fucking time I was wrapping it.
So is that why you're drinking water right now? The information and the stories that we've just been telling all day have been magic, right? Cheers, gentlemen.
Definitely, definitely wonderful.
Ciao, guys.
Yes.
Cheers.
Hey everyone, Justin Pate from the Rap Institute, and welcome to a very unique new version that we're beta testing right now, and I think it's going to go really well. We'll see. And it's called Never Have I Ever Rap Version. And in this one, I'm joined by two rap legends, and I want to introduce you to them right now.
Jim Miller. I don't know about the rap legend part, but yes, I've been rapping a long, long time. I started in 1979. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and been doing this for over 45 years.
I'm Dave Schnorr, and I do graphics on race cars. I design and manufacture and install them since 1984.
And I started in 96, and I thought that was a long time ago, and you guys beat me by a long shot. So in this one, guys, I'm really excited about this. So the idea right now, the premise, never have I ever. One of us is going to reach in, and we're going to take turns, right? Read a question. And if you've not done it, you don't have to take a drink. But if you have done the question, you have to take a drink. Once we've done the drinks, right? The idea is then we'll just kind of share stories about that topic, talk about it for 3 or 4 minutes, whatever. Then we go on to the next one. The goal is right now that you're not drinking alcohol. So
Unfortunately.
So hopefully you get very hydrated at the end of this one. Jimmy and I are drinking beer. Hopefully we don't get a little tipsy, but that's the idea. We're drinking grown-up pop right now.
Right.
Anyway, now for those of you watching right now, the idea is, rap legends, the information and the stories that we've just been telling all day have been magic, right?
Oh,
so we
much
hope
fun.
to catch some of those on camera right now, because
yes.
it's really special. So Jimmy, you go first.
All right. I'm going to pull one out right now. So never have I never used a tool in a totally wrong or weird way just to get the job done.
Dave, you go first.
I would say the worst part is when you show up at the job and you don't have the tools.
Okay.
You know.
What's a good example?
Well, I had to fly to Chicago to do a job, and the airline wouldn't let me. There's a bomb scare.
Okay.
So what I did is I went down to baggage claim,
Yeah.
and I got my ticket for me there because they were still operational, even though the top was not.
Okay.
So that I was able to get on the plane. But
Okay.
the problem was I wasn't able to bring anything with me.
Okay. And what were you doing in Chicago?
I was doing, they had the Cayman Inter Series, and we would go and we would turn these Cayman cars into 962 race car, they'd look like 962 race cars.
Okay.
And so, you had all the stuff I would send ahead. I'd send the boxes, the vinyl and everything ahead, but then I would always, and I'd have to check my baggage because you had knives and all the stuff that they would don't allow you to carry on.
That being said, I miss those days where I could carry my whole tool.
Yes, yes.
I used to carry all my knives on the plane.
I'd carry the boxes of vinyl, instead of golf clubs, man. You just throw it on the thing.
Anyway, what did you do on the job?
Oh, okay. So when I got to the place, I didn't have any tools. So what did I do? I went to the local art store.
Okay.
Well, they didn't have any either.
Right.
So I ended up just getting regular scissors, and I got a regular. It was a metal scraper device that I used. That I got that, and then I took some rubber hose, and at the shop, I was at a race shop, I took the rubber hose and I cut it in half, and I put the rubber hose through it and sealed it.
Okay.
And then I had the rubber hose so that I could squeegee
Get out of
the
here.
car.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because it was really hard.
Okay.
It didn't flow.
Yeah.
So, as you had said, use a greeting card, but not a greeting card, but a
Credit card. Well,
credit card, but that was too flimsy and too small, and you're doing, 3 cars, in a 2-day period. So what I did in that respect, because I didn't have access to that, is they had these, anyway, it was, they had a dealership and they had a paint booth, a paint shop there too.
Right.
So I went down there and I did what I used to do at the very beginning, and I got a Bondo spreader and I got a glaze spreader. And a glaze spreader is a little black rubber thing
Okay.
that they used to put glaze on to fill little teeny pinholes in paint. And of course, everybody knows what a Bondo spreader is. It's what they would put the plastic.
I have no clue what a bottle
It's,
is.
it's almost a squeegee.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
Okay, it's a
Size.
piece of plastic.
Right.
It's about the same shape, but you can cut it down to size that you need it.
Right.
And it's a piece of plastic. It's thin on one end and thicker on the other end.
Okay.
And what they would do with it is they would put, when you had a filler in a car, like you had a dent, instead of pounding the dent out or whatever, they just take this plastic filler and they slap it on top of it and they'd sand it down and paint it. And this is what they used to do it. And since I used to do, that's how I started. When I first started, I didn't have a squeegee.
Right. So that was your hack to work around.
I just knew exactly what to go to grab. But those are the three items that I used.
Well, I gotta jump into this one because it's just Chicago. That's the key word. So we talked about it even yesterday, that weird question. So I flew to Chicago, I think this was 1999, and I land in Chicago like at 7:30 midway, get to the job location. I'm wrapping an RV, and I get there and realize I forgot my squeegee back in New York. And I mean, 9 o'clock at night, where do you find a squeegee on a Friday night in Chicago? So I just took a credit card and took 2 paper towels and masking tape around one side, and I wrapped a whole RV. It took me 36
An RV?
It took me 36 hours to wrap that RV with a paper towel and a credit card.
That's crazy.
That's gangster.
Question.
Yeah.
Was the credit card any good anymore?
It still worked after that.
Did it?
Yeah, but that was talking about, I mean, I just super tiny. I mean, what can you do? I mean, massive. I mean, yeah, it was paper towels. Jimmy, what about you?
Oh, it's funny you mentioned credit cards. So I was doing the job for this a furniture company. It's a store in Jackson, Mississippi called McRae's. And I'd just done a bunch of box trucks.
What year was this?
This was probably 1985.
Okay.
All right. So I was doing just the cabs on the box truck. So I had a little Mustang at the time. So I rolled up in my car and I was like, cool. I'll do these little cabs on these box trucks. And he pulls out this big box. He's like, no, it's for the sides of the trucks. So I didn't have anything. I didn't have ladders. And I realized I would go to my car, and I forgot my tools. So I had no tools, no ladders, and I had to do the sides of box trucks. I started walking around the parking lot thinking, man, I'm gonna figure this out. I'm gonna figure it out. So I saw a screw on the ground. I picked up this screw, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I found a credit card. I got my credit card out and a screw, and I found a log, like a 4x4 piece of log that's about this big, and I stood it up on the end, and I stood on the log, wrapped the sides. These were not wraps. These were just big logos.
But still.
Big square around a McRae's. It's probably 10 feet up, and I'm standing on a log balancing,
Yeah.
putting this non-airgress vinyl on the side of a truck, and then poking it with this screw I found on the ground and rubbing it down with my thumb and squeegeeing it with this credit card. I didn't need the paper towel because it was pre-mashed. So I did the whole thing with my credit card, stuck the screw in the rivets and thumbed it down. It had no heat, nothing, but I got the job
But
done.
that log, I think, was OSHA approved. I think.
Absolutely, yeah. It didn't rock that much, and I only fell a couple of times, but I didn't fall on the ground because I was pretty agile back then. I was a little
Was
bouncy
was someone
kid.
playing banjo in the background?
Probably so. Probably so, but
I think the log. Anytime you mention log and wrapping, I think that trumps everything. I think that trumps everything.
that was raw tools. It was an old rusty screw, and it poked a nice little hole in the vinyl and rubbed it down with my thumb, and that was good.
But that's one of my favorite things about rapping, to be honest with you, is the problem solving. I mean, that's one of my favorite things. Like something doesn't work, how do you figure it out? And that's, you're MacGyver the whole time.
Yeah.
So, all right, next question. Dave, you got it, my man.
Okay. That's a good one. That's perfect.
Sure, gangster.
Never have I ever pulled an all-nighter just to finish a rap job. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, so
Cheers.
that being said, okay, what's the longest all-nighter?
Oh gosh, it's gonna take
I know, that was the RV, 36 hours?
Yeah, and without stop.
Without nonstop.
Wow.
I didn't, yeah. And I mean, that's just no coffee. No, I mean, I think I had coffee.
I hate playing these topic games. I don't want to top everybody.
Do it,
because
baby.
I've got so many 40-plus hour days. I can't even count.
Would you take a nap on the job, or
No,
just
absolutely
straight?
not. Straight up. I'm talking about from when I woke up to when I went to bed.
Right.
46 hours is my longest. I've done, that was at the airport and at Super Bowl. Those were both at the 45, 46 hour range. And then 30 something hours was trailers. It wasn't just one wrap, it was a row of trailers. And we had to get them all done. It's 36 hours. We saw crews come in and go home and come in the next day. They're like, wow, y'all got here early.
Yeah.
I say, yeah, we did. And then leave and come back again. Like 3 times people would come in, and it's like, we stayed for 36 hours. That was probably the first one, and that was in the maybe late 80s.
Wow.
And the other 2 were pretty recent.
What about you, Dave?
Well, my whole life was all-nighters because I was doing race cars.
Okay.
And I'm the last person to get to the car before it's done. Okay. And then I'm the last person, there's a guy waiting to load it in the trailer.
Yeah.
So they're all done with it. So I would usually show up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay.
And I would work all night. Yeah. And then they would put it in the trailer and it would leave. One particular time, Paul Newman, he had raced, they'd have this thing at the racetrack and it was called Roar, and they'd go test. Okay. And then a month later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks, depended on the year, they would come back and they would race the 24-hour race. Okay. So this particular year, I got all the information to do the car, but didn't have time to do it. So during practice, the car caught on fire and burnt to the ground. So it went to, and Paul was going around the corner, and they're yelling to him, and when it hit turn 1, fire had burned through oil lines, and it went on the tires, and the tires spun around. Wow. So the car's on fire. Paul doesn't know it. He spins around, and the guys are coming to help him. He's going, get me going again, because he didn't know the car was on fire. He wanted to keep going. And but anyway, the car burnt to the ground, and it had to go back up to North Carolina and get restored, completely redone at the carbon fiber shop. And Max Crawford up there, they knew me up there. And so when I got there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, right when they were getting off work, and the car was ready for me, his wife was so nice. She'd say, well, there's a couch there. If you get tired, you can sleep. So all night long, and this was back before wrapping. This was when you were doing the individual colors and you were doing all the overlays, and it was a crazy design. So anyway, next morning, I get the car done. By the next morning, the group of people came in that had just been working on the car because it had burnt to the ground. And what are the design graphics on the car? 50 flames, the 1950s type flames over the whole car. And everybody's going, what is going on here? Awesome. The whole car is in flames. And it's like when it got here. And then, of course, the next day, I didn't get to go to bed. The next day, I had to do all the backup parts. Okay. So I'm up the whole rest of the day. Yeah. And then that night at about 9 o'clock or whatever, I caught my airplane ticket, and I went back home to Florida. That's just one time. I mean, there was
endless.
Yeah.
So before we get to the next question, then I guess, because when I did that 36 hours, I haven't done this as close to you, but a lot, is, there's a way you just kind of power through it. And at a certain point, I've seen other guys, I've been at jobs, like one guy was wrapping a bus, and it was like, I think it was like 19th hour or whatever, and he fell asleep while he was trimming a panel, and he sliced through the back of the panel like at a 45. And another guy, I was at FAO Schwartz, and I don't know if there's a question there, but like most fucked up scenarios for the most unsafe scenarios. We used to do FAO Schwartz. They had these 40-foot windows, super thin. So we'd have 2 scissor lifts go up with a plank in between. And the plank had to come down at the same time. The 2 scissor lifts had to come down at the same time, otherwise they would go off. And one of the guys coming down fell asleep, and he kept on going while the other plank, and a guy was standing on the plank, which was, and I'm saying, so there's times where it's like, those guys fell asleep or he almost cut, but it's like you just kept on going, What is the juice that keeps you going so you don't fall asleep? Is it the challenge of it, or what is the idea?
To me, it was a challenge of getting it done, doing what they say can't be done.
Sure.
Because that's always great.
And that's kind of always a motivation.
Yeah, it's a huge motivation for me. When they say, oh, that's impossible, that can't be done, that pushes me hard.
What about you, Dave?
Oh, well, that's definitely the case. But with me, I did the artwork. It's my design.
So you just want to control.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
And you have the deadline. For me, I was always doing hip hop, and everything was last minute, and I loved the idea of no matter what, you get it done.
It's an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
It gets you fired up.
So it's a pride thing.
Yeah. Well, that and when you're doing it, you're so focused and you're in the zone.
So it's kind of joy.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it.
Natural.
And no one's there.
Natural adrenaline.
Well, sometimes, but when I worked all-nighters, I was
peaceful.
there.
It was actually quite peaceful.
And you play whatever music you wanted. And I remember when XM radio first came out. Wow. Serious, yeah. That was so cool to just listen to music. What were you going to say, Jim?
I like how you just brushed over, it's Paul Newman racing.
Well, dude, I know there's more stories coming. I mean,
well,
we got Paul Newman. Earlier we were talking about, we're
He's
talking
a famous
to
actor. He also has a salad dressing. He's pretty famous.
For those of
guy.
you watching
an
right
awesome
now, I don't
guy.
think you have any idea the stories David got.
Oh
I mean,
man.
we're
old Paul Newman.
we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. All right, here we go. All right. So next question. Never have I ever wrapped a personal project that meant more than any paying job. Should I read that again?
Yes, please.
Never have I ever wrapped a personal project that meant more than any paying job. Like for a friend, for a charity, for...
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I guess so,
Yeah, oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Charities, yeah.
Who wants to go first?
I mean, mine's pretty simple. It's the ones that really get me are the kids' helmets. I mean, a ton of people have done them, but it hurts. It grabs your heart every time. You have to do something for children, little bitty children. I guess the worst one, you say best, worst.
Oh, we didn't drink, by the way.
I did.
I
yeah.
did. Was a kid's coffin was the worst one ever. That was that one. I almost cried the whole fucking time I was wrapping it. It was so bad, and I actually didn't want to wrap coffins anymore after that.
What'd you wrap? What'd you wrap it in?
It was some cartoon characters and stuff, and his favorite cartoons, and shit, I'm just about tearing up now. But it was so terrible wrapping. And I was like, man, I just can't do this anymore. At the time, I was doing like kiss coffins and stuff, fun stuff, like for
That's a
people
different
that
ballgame.
want coffins in it, or just neat decorative coffins. And then when the kids thing came on, it was like, that got me. It's like,
Well, that's a concept, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Of
mean...
things to wrap.
Oh, a woman took my workshop. She said, if I wrap a car, I can wrap a coffin. And she owned the largest funeral parlor in Arkansas. She had 3,000. She gave me 2 coffins. I'm good.
What'd be really cool is to put the print of the person on top of the coffin, right? So you see them.
When they look good.
Yeah, they're happy,
They're
know?
happy.
Yeah.
I don't know, what was a personal project that meant more than money?
Well, I off the top of my head, I can't think of anything, spectacular, but I did a lot of, you would do push carts, like little cars, things like that, that would be, for the children's, to raise money for the children or the children to use it to do events, where they would, challenge each other and stuff. But, the one, I guess, a couple times was where you would take and you would make a little car fit a wheelchair.
Ah, okay.
And it was their favorite car, and it was a toy car, but you would convert it so it would fit around the wheelchair. Cool. And then you would do the design element. You'd find out they would find out what their favorite colors were and what they liked and stuff. And you would do it or wrapped around it. And those were, that was really rewarding.
they mean more than a job.
Oh yeah,
It
it's
means
not
more
a
than
job.
wrapping
It's-
something.
Yeah.
I think for
It's
me,
not a job. It's more of a, heartfelt.
well, my daughter was in school, and she was, I think this was like 2016 or 17. And so what we did is we took measurements of all the desks, because they all had the same desk. And so we gave them an art file, and they could take it home and they could design their own desk. So then I had each desk printed up, and then I went in and gave a mini workshop on how to wrap. And I kind of showed them what I did. And then my friend Mark, who makes monkey strips, so Popular Buffer.
Yeah.
So we came in and the kids wrapped their desks for a day, and just the energy in the room was and it was cool to see some kids get it and some kids didn't get it. But it's just like my daughter loved it. And it was like her dad puts on stickers, and yeah, that was super magic.
Yeah, and we've all got the friends who have the kids that got their new car, which is an old nasty car that looks like crap, and in the old days, the vinyl, you had to buy a 150-foot roll. And a car, Porsche, took half that.
Right.
Okay, so you got a half a roll. And it was very rare that somebody wanted that color.
Sure.
But you've got friends who have kids that have ratty cars.
Yeah.
So you go over there for the day and, you wrap the car for them. That kind of stuff, was quite popular.
It's magic. It makes you popular too.
Yeah.
All right, Jimmy, you next?
Yep. All right, never have I never been asked to wrap something absolutely crazy. Oh, I've wrapped some crazy
Well, I was
shit.
going to say a coffin is, pretty, I've never heard of that.
I think the craziest thing
What is
I wrapped Coca-Cola. They came out with a drink called Full Throttle. I don't think it ever caught on. But a company that I used to do a lot of wraps for called Free Car Media back in the day. So early 2000, they did really creative wraps. So they basically contacted Mac, who made the concrete mixers, and they got 20 brand new concrete mixers right out of the plant. And they did a design, so it was like full throttle on the barrel, and then wrapped the whole car. So I did 17 out of the 20. So I went to different Mac places throughout the United States, and I wrapped the things. Then they drove all the cars out to Vegas, and they drove all 20 concrete mixers down.
Oh
That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
And that was, but that, I think the same company, and I think it's a tie. I did 2, we talked about it yesterday, actually. I did 2 buses for all detergent. And so they sent me a box of blue vinyl. This is before color change. This is 2004. Wrapped 2 buses blue. And then they sent me 5,000 articles of clothing from a secondhand store in Vermont, crates of spray, 3M adhesive spray, and we put 2,000 articles of clothing on the bus, and it just had a little thing that said all detergent, and that drove around New York City for 2 weeks.
Wow, what a concept.
Crazy.
Glued on clothes.
Glued on clothes. And the thing is that once we're done, we had to waterproof it. So once it was done, we literally had to like put on suits and then just waterproof all the clothes. So because it was on for 2 weeks. It's Scotch guard.
Wow.
I couldn't breathe. I had a respirator, but I had a beard and all got under my beard. I couldn't breathe. My wife was like, I was breathing like.
How much plastic's in your system?
Oh no! Oh
Awesome.
my God, that
It was
is
a cool job though.
amazing.
What about you?
Well, I very early on when cast vinyl was out, I hated painting. I've always hated painting. That's why I love vinyl. I love it. You know, we used to paint cars.
It doesn't drip.
Yeah, I used to airbrush. I hate it, and especially hate painting furniture. So early on, I just started wrapping all the furniture. You know, all the kitchen cabinets, all the, the
cool.
desks, and it looked like lacquer, shiny, polished lacquer. It was gorgeous, whatever color you chose.
Sure.
And that was a lot of fun. So, you're at the racetrack and you're hanging out at night, and you're talking to the guys and everybody's sharing just stories about stuff. And the one guy, and some of the owners and the drivers and stuff, they're got a little bit of change.
Sure.
And so I was telling them about, they said, what are some of the things you've wrapped? And I said, well, I wrapped furniture. And the one guy goes, oh, I'm building a house. But he had just had carbon fiber put on his car.
Okay.
And if people that don't know, the carbon fiber wrap material is textured and looks like carbon fiber and feels like, well, it doesn't really, but it's supposed to. And he wanted that. He said, can you do all the cabinets in my house, in the kitchen? And I said, sure, because, I had a couple beers and, as they say up north, pops.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Barley pop, yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready. And so I walk into this place that isn't even built yet, and the whole entire wall for 50 feet is cabinets. His kitchen was, huge.
Massive
It was
piece.
massive. And so I start working, and I'm not using Dynoc. I'm using the vinyl, the 3M vinyl, the roll of 3M vinyl that we had left over. That's what got the whole thing started, was because we had that material. And so I wrapped all the outside cabinets. No problem, all done. He comes, he shows up, he goes, no, I want the insides done too.
Oh. And that carbon fiber has to match in the patterns.
Oh, yeah. And the thing about carbon fiber is on cabinets is you have to adjust it for the wave.
Yeah, sure.
Because you can't have it wavy. It has to be straight, and off the roll, it's not straight.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like maneuvering it as you're putting it on, and then on the inside, and then the angles. And of course, I got real fancy on the outside, and I made seams on the big cabinets,
Sure.
right down the middle, so it was coming both ways, so it looked like a really cool seam. So a nice, relatively no pain job turned into just a nightmare.
So is that why you're drinking water right now?
Yeah.
You learned your lesson? All right, Jim, what about you?
I guess when people ask me that question, it's got to be an 80-foot tall blimp.
Oh yeah.
So they,
Okay.
to start it off with, the guy approached me. He said, "We're going to wrap a blimp," and I was like, "Okay, cool. I can wrap anything."
Go.
So I didn't think about the size of a blimp. So we pull up to this building. It's like several stories, and the blimp was there, but it was all deflated. And we looked at the material and stuff, and then, okay, yeah, we could definitely do it. It's cool. We got engineers developed it, the vinyl, and so we came back to home, and then he said, "Let's fly over." So these guys own airplanes. So not only that, I got to fly the airplane. So I'm flying and thinking, oh, this is going to be so much fun. I'm flying the airplane. Yeah. Of course, he's got the other joystick, but we fly over there. It's in Alabama. And this thing is twice the size of the building when I pull up. It's like 80 feet tall. They got a 140-foot lift sitting there. And I'm thinking, well, we don't need that big of a lift. But when you think about an 80-foot balloon, you got a lift way over here. 140 didn't reach the top. So it got right here. And this is 17,000 square foot of vinyl. And the vinyl,
17,000.
17,000 square feet. And it was shaped like an orange.
What was the surface like that you wrapped it?
The surface was like a canvas.
Okay.
It was a real hard canvas. They had fans inside blowing it up real hard.
Right.
And they blew it up extra hard for us so that we can put the vinyl on. But it wasn't vinyl. We used Contravision, clear perf. So it was printed,
What?
which was awesome. It was printed on the outside. It was backlit, and you could see it really good. Opposite of what normal black-sided perf would be.
Okay.
So that clear perf lit up. So when we installed the vinyl, it started off with little slivers, but the only thing I said we had to do was we got to have the center point. So they had to figure out the center point.
Right.
And we started in the middle with pretty big sheets, like 10-foot by 4-foot sheets.
Okay.
They were big. And then as we went down, they got skinny and more angled and like an orange. And as we did it, we just worked our way around. Then when we got to the top where we couldn't reach it, the 140-foot lift was right here. And there's a little eye hook right here. So I tied myself off to the lift, and I jumped out of the lift and ran up the rest of the balloon and grabbed that hook. And that's where I hooked my harness to. And then we could just like go around the blimp, put it on the decals.
Imagine it up there in the air like that.
I was just waiting for you to break out a log at some point. Like,
I
where are
know,
you
there
going
was
to put
no
the log?
logs involved,
There's
but
no log?
there was a lot of probably non-OSHA approved stuff. But I was attached to the lift when I ran up the side of it. But the thing is, you couldn't start till after 10 o'clock because of the dew. The dew would be on the blimp, and you'd try to get on the blimp, and it'd just be running off the blimp all day. You couldn't even do the bottom side.
Dude, I thought you said the dude. I thought all of a sudden that you're talking about
as
like
in
Big
the
Lebowski.
shit that comes out the sky, in the mornings. And the whole thing would be wet on top, and water would be running down and around the blimp.
Oh my goodness.
Until about 10 o'clock, and this was in the middle of summer.
Then it was just...
And then it would dry up, and then that's when we could finally do it.
So it's hard, and then there's dew. And then
So it's,
I always love those situations.
oh, it was a crazy situation, but it was a lot of fun. I got a lot of good help. Jeremy Connor came out and helped.
Okay.
It was we had a good crew on it, and we stayed on it. It took a long time because it took about a month. Wow. Only because not straight work.
No, I know.
And it wasn't
but
any
I'm just
long days, but
right.
we had to go from like 10 o'clock, and we had to stop at a certain time. So we were back and forth, and we wouldn't work straight. We would just work like 3 days, come home and do our other work, and then work. Yeah, it was like that. It didn't take a month of work. It just took a month of time. But it was a crazy job. It was crazy.
There was a picture I saw, and he's on the top of the blimp, standing on the top of the blimp.
I look like an ant.
When it's done, and you're like, insane.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Total insane. The size, the magnitude.
It was big.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really big. There's videos of us up close, and there's pictures of us up close, but you don't get the magnitude until you see that picture.
Oh man,
I was this big on top of this ball.
I would like to see
big.
you that 10,000 feet up. That'd be cool. All right, Dave, next question.
Oh, me. Okay, great. Never have I ever wrapped something that was in a car and regretted it.
Regretted it. I don't think I ever regretted anything I hadn't wrapped. I wrapped.
No, you take on the challenge, you go through with it.
I'm happy that I did it.
I think we're not drinking on that one.
No.
Everything I wrap is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, not only that, but it's, you do it as a challenge anyway. So if it's not a normal thing, your challenge is to accomplish it and make it work.
Yeah. I think I mean, we just got what? All right, you got some.
I might have some.
Okay. So you're drinking.
All right, well, these were windows. Simple as that. You would think it was simple as that. So I went into this building, this pretty big computer company, a lot of people know, it's IBM. And my guys are in there, we're removing graphics, and they just did a remodel. So it was cool, it's a great job. It's a good, big job. We're just killing it. We're knocking it out day after day. And one day I didn't go to work, and my guys were removing some vinyl, and it set off the sprinklers inside. This is the one job I wish I never got. So so my guy calls me and said, man, I just set off the sprinklers. I said, I'm thinking like a movie. He's like, shh. No, he said this came out with such a force and the water was black. Wow. And it had a foot and a half of water in this office in about 30 seconds. And this is in IBM.
Yeah.
You know, this is a place where there's computers and massive mainframes all over the place. And I'm thinking, this can't be. This can't be. Well, not only that, it went down 3 stories.
Oh.
The walls, all through the floors, the walls, and went out into the floor of where all these computers were. And it was probably the one job I wish I would have never gotten. So thank God for insurance. And that was one big battle. That was a 2-year-long battle with the insurance.
I was going to say, so you were insured to do these jobs because it's a lot of times guys go out and they do stuff and they don't have any insurance.
If you're not got insurance, you're in big trouble. You would probably, I don't know how you'd get out of that.
Yeah.
You would?
It was huge.
You go.
It was crazy because we let our insurance handle it. You know, they had their good attorneys in there, and they had attorneys that were a little bit better than ours, so we lost in court. There were some crazy things about it. The sprinkler system was too close to the newly remodeled glass, which that's what set it off. The heat went up from where we were doing this. The heat went up and hit this sprinkler, and once that sprinkler set off, the other one in the room set off, and it was just filled that room up. But you don't know these things until afterwards.
Oh, that is just
But
talk about the worst nightmare.
I think you have to drink twice just for the.
Okay, I'll kill it.
I was trying to think of something like that happened after he was talking like that. I couldn't think of it.
I got a couple more, but I could talk all day on this now that I'm thinking about it.
All right. Never have I ever invented a wrapping trick on the spot that actually worked.
We're dealing with some old-ass people over here. That's tough. We probably have.
Yeah.
But you go ahead and
got bad
start.
memory.
Maybe that'll...
Foam roller brush. So I hated rivets. Hated.
Oh, right.
And you have to poke a hole, do a rivet brush, poke a hole, do a rivet brush. And basically, we used to wrap a lot of corrugated bus in New York City. And I used to work with this guy, Shad, who now runs at Walmart. He's doing great. And we used to work with this guy, Charlie. And corrugated buses suck. You have to feed it in, feed it out, feed it. Horrible. So one day, these buses were rolling around for 2 weeks. So he took a weed burner and Charlie just heated it, the whole side of the bus with a weed burner.
Weed burner.
And then he took a foam roller brush and he just jammed the material in, just overstretched the crap out of it. And that's what he did. And as soon as he did that, it was just this light bulb went off. And I went with Shad as my go-to guy if I needed extra hand and stuff like that. We went to found a box truck, and this is like 1999. And we just put the material around there and we created a channel. And we took the foam roller brush and took a torch and we just went like this, and it was just like,
Yeah.
And before that, I was like, we were saying no to every job that had box, like rivets, we said no. And after that, I said yes to every job. And for about 3 or 4 years before this Rolly Pro came out, I used a foam roller brush, and it made me I was doing box trucks in an hour. It's like 60-foot box trucks.
Before that, it was pounded on.
So that was just, that changed I literally it was crazy black and white money. It was good. Anything
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I actually had a few really crazy times. First of all, in 1980, 1979, there were no tools there wasn't anything.
There's logs.
Yeah, there were logs and screws, and there was a lot of crazy things. But I guess the big thing for me, I was a fleet guy, so I did mountains of trailers.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, before I moved to Atlanta, we had a documented 30,000 trailers we had done.
Like
30,000. Yeah, they were all little things.
But still, that's all.
But that's a lot. That's a lot of trailers. You think about how much that is a day. There was days we did 80 or 90 trailers in a day because it was tiny things on the trailer. It wasn't wraps. But we did do a lot of big, thick corrugated trailers. They're not like corrugated trailers today. Back in the day, they were huge, big old rolls. So I invented a way to make a rivet brush work as a squeegee. We ground it down to real short and ground the wood off and made a little squeegee, and that's how we put it on. It was all pre-masked, liquid lamb, and we would just go across it like this, fast as you could, on top, on the face, on the bottom, on top, on the face, on the bottom.
And did you have to make those sound effects when you did it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's where I got my sound effects from. It was like, it's like
All right, so you modified a rivet brush
yeah.
to turn a squeegee. I used a foam roller brush. What did you use?
Well, I was trying to think of things. that I did. And the only thing I came up with was that when you were doing the race cars, for some reason, all the screws were button head, and and all the latches and all the stuff like that, and you'd have to put the wrap material right up to the latch, so you had these bumps that stuck out, and it was a real pain in the ass because you couldn't pop them down. It was just too big of a thing. So I went to the leather shop, and I grabbed a bunch of leather punches, all different size leather punches, and I took them back to the shop, and I just took my torch, and I just heat them up a little bit. I'd stick it on and turn it, and then pop them right off.
You showed me that well. Yeah. Did you learn that from Dave or no?
No, but it's funny. We had the same story.
Same story.
Yeah. It's very cool.
All right, Jimmy, next question.
All right.
Jim's got a new beer coming.
You got me right in there.
All right, who's got the next question?
I got it in my hand. All right, here we go. I've never, ever, ever, never worked on a project so big I thought was impossible.
I didn't drink. I'm still trying to think of this because, I mean, if you take it on.
I mean, one time.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes. I'll drink. I'll drink. Okay.
Well, one time I had to do 90 cars in 30 days.
This was a good one.
And I had to, I bid against 2 other companies and I got it. And I asked for all the cars under one roof and I got a perfect formula for fleet. And this is, so I went in with my buddy Shad and I thought, okay, we're going to need we had to be done in 30 days with 90 cars. So I said no to all my clients in New York, and I was scared that I was going to lose them, but this was such a big job, I had to take it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was really nervous, but it's just such a big chunk of change, and it was going to change, my life in terms of income. So I took it, thinking, okay, this is a big risk. I was super nervous. And then for whatever reason, on the day one, I just was like, okay, I'm going to time it. Mm-hmm. And we timed it, and the first one took us 1 hour and 48 minutes. All of a sudden, I was just like, wait a second.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. I mean, this was cleaning, prep, done, finished. Yeah. And I was like, we just wrapped 1 car. So I was like, I did the math. And I called all my New York clients and said, I'm in on the weekend, put all the weekend's cars Saturday, Sunday. And they said, okay. So we would work Monday through Friday, and we'd have 24 access. We'd be there for like 12 to 14 hours a day. Then Friday, we drive back to New York. I remember I wrapped some armored cars and stuff like that. And we drove back Sunday night, then we'd work Monday through Friday in DC, then drive 4 hours back to New York and do all the New York clients. And so not only did I do the cars in 30 days, we did them in 22 days, and I added another 18 cars on top. So that month I wrapped 108 cars with my buddy Shad.
Wow.
And it was crazy. So going in,
wow.
It was just, and by the end we had it down to 1 hour and 15 minutes per piece. And they filmed
smoking.
it, and it was smoking. I mean, that's primer '94. I wouldn't rap like that today. But I mean, going in, I thought it was going to be impossible, and then after day one, I was like, this is pretty cool. I'm sure you have stories.
Man, mine was a pretty big job. It was the Super Bowl in 2018. I first quoted it for one company, and I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good job, man. Yeah, that sounds great. And then another company approached me, like, okay, that's cool. I think we could probably do it. And then it kept going.
For a different job.
Same, during the Super Bowl, all Super Bowl graphics.
Okay, but I'm saying these are different jobs that are coming in.
Yeah, different jobs, not the same job, yeah. They're coming in like buses, hotels, stadiums.
And you're just like, yes.
Yeah,
sure.
Yes, I was Mr. Yes until I got 6 companies. 6 companies, all with a really big amount of work.
And what was Starla saying at this point?
Well, she was looking at numbers, so she's a numbers girl. She was dancing around all the time.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, well, how the hell am I going to do all this? I don't know, because we had a really good crew. We had a super strong crew. I'm thinking, wow, we can do it. And I was like, okay, we can't do it because everything's done. Everything has to be done here, right, and here at these times and these times and these times. So I relied on a pretty good network of my friends. Okay. So I got a crazy amount of people. We had 35 installers come in.
35?
Including ours. So we housed
an
them.
army.
Yeah.
We housed them in my house. We housed them in the shop. We housed them in the camper. We had guys staying in hotels. We rented cars. We rented a 16-passenger bus to take them back and forth. And the crazy thing is, we'd get down there, this stuff's not built yet. This isn't ready yet. Yeah. So the biggest thing with that was time management. I get it. Getting everybody in the right place at the right time. My phone's just ringing constant, texting constant. We show up at a job on time for this job. nothing's ready. So these guys are like, oh, we got all the graphics here. So we'd all run over to this place. And man, it was like bouncing from place to place to place.
Yeah.
Then we're just working, and then I'd get another customer call, totally separate from the 6 customers. A guy just walked out of ESPN. We got to have this up. We got to interview tonight. The installer left and didn't finish the job. So I was like, whatever it takes. So sure, I got one crew. So I had little crews set up to handle each one. And then I'd like call them all and find out, is everything going good? No, we're waiting on graphics. Boom, let's go to ESPN. Knock that out. So end of the day, the amount of graphics we installed
How
was...
many square feet you put on them?
It was close to 300,000 square feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now think of a 100 square foot room.
Yeah.
And put it into perspective.
Yeah, close to 300,000, but some of it was banners.
Right.
Some of it was
you're repping that. What's the stadium?
sides of the, Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
So you're repping the outside
Blue Media
windows.
freaking killed it. Blue Media is
How many
awesome.
logs go to the top?
It takes a lot of logs to reach that. They got guys hanging from cables off the top of buildings and stuff, just like smoking us. They were awesome. Me and Jeremy, to top all that off, it was like 9 degrees one day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were scraping ice off of tables like this before we could put the vinyl on. We couldn't heat it. We had to scrape it off with scrapers, then heat it, then put the vinyl on, because it was 9 degrees. We wrapped the Ferris wheel. That day it started off at 9 degrees. I think it topped out at about 19. And it was, to unwrap the vinyl, we had these little propane torches, heaters, 6 of them lined up around. And we'd have to heat the vinyl up before we could unroll it or it'd break. Yeah, so we'd heat it up and it'd be blowing, and then we'd unroll it and just like warm it up real good and peel it and just stick it real quick and squeeze it on.
There was probably no dirt underneath that vinyl.
No, it actually did pretty good.
I'm joking, but still, it's amazing.
No, it actually looked pretty decent. The pictures look good. I can show you. But it was just insane. Me and Jeremy is on the side of a building, and we're like lining up panels, and we're just making them perfect. I'm thinking, oh, they're gonna love our work. And some of the Blue Media guys are coming by with these squeegees this wide, going down the side of the building, and they're just like killing us. I'm thinking, we're 2 good installers. We're gonna smash it. These guys at Blue Media were like, come by us. I mean, their shit's way out of a line. We get down on the ground, theirs looks perfect. Ours looked perfect. Didn't look any different.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
They knew exactly what they were doing.
That reminds me, when I moved to Amsterdam, I worked for this company, and they were talking about banners on the side of the road. And you all think, more DPI, the better. And they did tests. The banners on the side of the road they were putting had like 15 DPI.
Yeah.
It was just giant circles.
Dots.
And it looked better than 300.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's the thing with racing. Yeah. People don't realize nowadays that in racing, the average person's going to see a car that's this big.
Yeah.
They're not going to see the whole car.
Yeah.
So the simpler and the more quieter the graphics are.
Sure.
Meaning by quieter I mean less.
Less is more.
Yeah, and negative space, so the eye can rest between that little space and see each little thing picked out. And so it's the same concept.
Sure.
The eye only picks up so much. So with racing, it's the distance thing. You don't overpower the car with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is key.
You just make it simple, and and I got that from butterflies. Butterflies, looking at butterflies. They're very beautiful, but their colors pop and they're very distinct, and you can see them from a distance.
I like that.
Yeah. Pretty much all my jobs, because I did graphics on race cars. And what you would do is, the first race of the year was the Daytona 24-hour race. Okay, so you want to get all your race teams lined up for the beginning of the year.
Right.
But unfortunately, they don't know what their sponsors are. They don't know any of the information. And then when they find out, you have a very limited time I designed it, I manufactured it, and I installed it. So you have to do all that in a very short period of time. And you want to get as many race teams as you can, because for the rest of the year, they're going to get sponsor changes, they're going to wreck, and you got, constant business. So you're working really hard for Daytona. Then a month later, you have Sebring. And Sebring, you have to do it all over again, because it was a 24-hour race. Cars were trashed,
Sure.
And you have to do it all over again. And some years, it was a different series anyway, and different types of cars raced. And not only that, but you did other cars than just the main race, the 12-hour race, because they'd have the Porsche Cup and they'd have all the different races there, and you were doing race cars for that, and you wanted to get all those race teams too because you needed a lot of work, you know, you wanted it for the whole year. So you're trying to jam out as much as you can, but you only have a month to do it, and you're having to do all the work. And so for like Sebring for 2011, I did 20 cars, you know, that I did in a month's time: design, manufacture, and install, and do it. And back, you know, then I had guys to help me install. I did all the designing and manufacturing, but I had guys to help me install. Not like you, I would have them put them in places and have them do it.
Right.
But and then Daytona was 18, you know, for that. And so to me, the biggest jobs was all the time, because you had, you know, the beginning of the year, you had to get everybody done and set, and you had to create the designs and get to make the deals, and you had to do the sponsor decals and the series
And
decal.
there's a lot of money at stake too.
Oh yeah, you would take a loan out at the beginning of the year, you know, for like 75, depending, $1,000 or whatever, $100,000 just for supplies.
Okay.
So you could buy all your supplies that you needed,
Got it.
so that you would have them on hand to start doing the work. And you usually paid back that loan in about, you know, April,
Right.
because you were, you know, paying everybody and doing all your stuff and making money, but you couldn't just pay it back in a lump sum that amount of time. But that's what it would
That
take.
adds a little fun to it.
I wanted some way to show people that it wasn't magic what we did,
Right.
that there was talent.
That's not also easy.
No, it's impossible.
Right.
So, well, not impossible, but so what I wanted to do was, I wanted to do, like with me, I design it, I manufacture, and then it's installed. But even in the installs, doing color changes and all that, that's an art form. I mean, a learned art form that's very difficult. And people don't take that for granted, don't take that into consideration. They just take it for granted. Oh, they just came and they just slapped this on and they just did that. So the thing to me is, I wanted to show that it isn't magic by doing a demonstration, a video or whatever, showing the beginning, designing it, what it takes. And you know, it's just a quick thing, but what it takes, going all through the thing, and then what it takes to wrap it, and what it takes to do it, all, you know, sped up so it doesn't bore anybody, but just so they're like, what? Like
They don't, yeah.
People would say, $35 for a sticker. Well, you know, they called me on the phone and they said, can you do this sticker? And I'm like, yeah, where is it? Well, you got to come take a picture of it or whatever, you know, it's on the car or whatever. And so you go there and you take a picture of it and you leave, you go put it on the computer, you draw it on the computer, you color correct it. You, you know, you take it and you print it out, and then you laminate it, and then you put it back in the printer and you cut it, and then you put the masking on it, and you've got all these materials and these supplies and these tools that cost, you know, tens of thousands of dollars, and then you drive back to their shop and you hand them the sticker and they're going, $35? You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, but it's good. I mean, it's important. I mean, actually, to that point, I almost came really close to having my own TV show. So basically, I made a sizzle reel, shopped it around, had a couple of meetings with like Discovery and stuff like that. On my second meeting, you know, she saw the sizzle reel. We talked about the possibilities of the show, and she's like, "Oh, wrapping is really easy." I said, "Okay, cool." You know, I brought my computer, and here's some material. And I taught her how to squeegee. She's like, "Oh, really nice," and stuff like that. So she put it on, and then I said, "Okay, here's a knife, and you're gonna cut the material out." And she said, "Show me how." And I said, "This I'm not going to show you. And here's the deal: if you cut my computer, you have to buy me a new one." And she got really quiet. And then she's like,
"A new computer?
What?
Did you get a
Well,
new
she didn't want to
computer?"
cut, but then she kind of understood. Like I said, we're working on a McLaren or a Porsche
we
and
have
stuff like that.
something
If we
at
cut that
stake.
car, we own that.
Yeah, you
know.
don't
And
cut
she
the
doesn't understand. Like now, I mean, you're just wrapping a laptop. Imagine wrapping a mirror, or wrapping all this stuff, and then you have to cut it out perfectly and make a perfect cut. You know, then she understood the art. You know, and I think until a client actually understands and feels, they don't understand that.
Yeah, they're just more concerned about the car.
Well, they just, again, our job is to make it look easy.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, and
So,
we do.
Maybe.
Yeah, so.
Never have I ever wrapped a race car the night before a big race.
Oh, come on. You got another bottle?
I'm not drinking because I haven't wrapped that.
Really?
I've never wrapped a race car.
That's funny.
Never wrapped a race car.
First of all, he's wrapped 1,000 millions. I've done like 2.
Oh, no.
Because I mean, maybe people. I mean,
Wait a minute.
how many?
Want me to
race,
chug this?
How many race cars have you wrapped?
Have you ever thought about that and tried to put a number on it?
No. For the Porsche factory,
Yeah.
just in 1 year, just for the race team. Just for the race team, not their promo cars, not any other cars, just the race team. I did 64.
Okay.
Okay, wait a minute. when he says 64, the first time he called me, he said, "Hey, Jim, I got 3 cars to wrap. Can you come wrap them?" I'm like, "Oh, that's easy. 3 cars, and we got all week?" I'm like, "No problem." So I brought one guy. We show up, and he's like, "Here's the 3 cars," and then we start wrapping, and then there's a train of parts coming out.
There
A
were 6
train
cars.
of parts. It's like 3 fenders for each car, 3 sets of bumpers for each car, like 22,000 mirrors or whatever it was. It's like
24 mirrors.
It was a lot of damn mirrors.
So and the thing is, so all these cars that you're doing, right?
Are loaded with parts.
There were 2 cars that were going to race,
Right.
and a spare backup car.
But the thing is, the design is that each part has to match with the.
Yes.
Every single car.
Each one.
And you're doing this the night before the race.
Well, we had 3 days to do the 6 cars.
Right. No pressure.
Well,
No.
this wasn't
Not for
This
me,
wasn't
but-
this question, but I'm just
Right, I get it.
explaining
No, but
what
that's
he's talking
perfect
about.
because that helps. That helps him because me,
Put
it's
you in
normal.
perspective. Yeah, that's normal for him.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many cars did you wrap? And let's say you get ready for a race, and how many by the end of the race were just gone? Like what's the percentage?
Oh, it depends on the year, but I mean, one year I had, I think I did 12 cars and 8 of them were totaled by the end of the race. And people are like, "Oh, you should be happy because you get to do them again." No, you work with that race team. You work with all those guys. You know everybody. You've got your passion, your life. That's your piece of artwork, your Picasso that's going around the track. You don't want it to wreck. You want it to keep going.
Yeah, but here's your point. And actually, coming back to those 90 cars that I wrapped at one time, the guy who got me the job said he made more money after the job than he did when he got the job, because
Fixing it.
for the 90 cars he gave a good price, but then everything else was retail price. And he said half of those cars got in an accident, and stuff like that, and he would repair them. He was like,
but with
thank
the
God.
24-hour race,
I get it.
the car has to be totally redone anyway.
Right.
Because it got beat to heck.
Sure.
So it got scuffed, as they call it.
Right.
But to have it sitting there, I can't remember. You put your, all the guys, they all put all their time and effort into
Sure,
one or 2 cars. Usually each guy's working on 1 car, and there'll be a 2-car team. Right. And, and everybody's all fired up and all excited. In the beginning of the race is happening. They're like, yeah, and at the end of the race, those 2 cars are sitting on the side, somewhere in the garage area, outside, totally smashed, completely gone, right, written off.
Right.
So to speak, and you're just sitting there looking at it going, no.
It kind of reminds me of that. It's like because my wife is, Buddhist, and she knew Robert Thurman. He's like Tibetan Buddhist monk. I mean, those Tibetan Buddhist monks, they'll do a beautiful mandala made out of sand. Then as soon as they're done, they sweep it away.
Oh yeah, that's my career.
So it's kind of so in a way, it's kind of beautiful where you create this thing, you put the time and effort, but at the end of the day, what does it matter?
Yeah.
Really.
I can't tell you how many of my cars were what I would call them street paintings.
Okay. Well,
Same
the
thing.
TV
You put all the effort and all the time and everything in it, and then you do the car, and the car races, and then it's gone. They strip it off, they take it off, and it's gone.
had pictures of
and
it.
they never.
my TV show is going to be called Sticky Business, and the tagline was disposable graffiti. So similar.
Yeah.
Anything a race car?
Well, the one that stands out is Goldcrest is a Porsche place right near here. It's like 5-10 miles from
How I
here.
met you.
Yeah, I met him through this company.
Okay.
So it's a company that develops a lot of track cars for really rich guys and race cars for really professional guys. This guy named Jack Baldwin is a real famous racer.
Okay.
So,
So Jack.
yeah.
Oh yeah, he's
At least,
a great guy.
he's a good dude.
Oh, he's great.
He's a really good dude too.
Yeah.
And I got to meet him and get to know him a little bit. But he was racing and wrecked his car. And Goldcrest their team is phenomenal. So they rebuilt this car. They had to be ready. This was like 6 o'clock in the evening. They called me up and said, "We got to get this car wrapped." When I get there, there's like 12 guys building the car. They had to rebuild it, and I had to wrap it at the same time. And they just were phenomenal. And I was working around them, and I wrapped the car, and they built the car.
Okay.
So as they built it, I wrapped it, and it was ready for 7 o'clock the next morning to meet the time trials. And it was amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good experience, and
How did
I
the
see
graphics
and I
fit?
understand the graphics were great, but the team, that whole team thing was just amazing to me. And then meeting, and it's crazy because I met him through that company, and did a couple jobs with him, and then did a bunch of jobs for him later. But when I went to this race team, you know, the whole culture and everything, I realized, man, this is just cool. Everything's so clean, so perfect, and
But that's what I like about, like, I don't know about you, but you visit all these unique places, and you know, obviously, you know, you work a lot with Porsche, but like, you know, I was lucky enough to go to Ferrari. We try to talk about, like, but just being able to, like, you know, I did stuff for Apple,
Yeah.
and I learned, you know, seeing the number 2 at Apple, and I see how he worked, and I just absorb it. And then I go to Ferrari, and I sit down with Lamborghini for dinner. You know, the nephew of, you know, like, this is one of the cool things about our jobs, is that the people that we meet.
Yeah, that's
but
the
not
best
only,
part.
it doesn't have to be in rapping. It could be Coke, or it could be all these things, and that's where you just like, I love just soaking that in, and just like, how many cool, you know, situations do we get in? If you're not open to it,
Yeah.
you're missing the boat.
That's what I tell kids. I said, you know, art is the only medium you can do in life and be able to cross the culture barrier from you know, the local guy, you know, all the way up to kings and princes and, you know, all that stuff that you're, you know, dining with and absorbing and enjoying, you know, life to its fullest, you know, and every moment is different.
Cool. All right, who has the next question?
Never have I ever had a rap totally fail on me in front of a client. In front of a client.
I'm gonna.
I know I have.
I kind of have one. Right.
How big is the fail?
All right, so I did a job. So in New York City, sometimes how it worked, it was like levels. So you have the ad agencies, and then they'd go to, so this one was for British Airways. So British Airways won a job, and they went to one agency. So if they priced the rep here, everyone wants a piece of the pie, and they go down. So I had to wrap 6 London cabs in New York City with British Airways, and I had to drive around New York City for 2 weeks, or whatever. So when I get to the job, there's so many people taking a piece out of the pie. By the time it got to my buddy who's doing the printing, he's like, dude, there's no money left. So he printed on like monomer calendar film, unlaminated, and you know, British taxi cabs are these giant compound curves. And I called up and I said, and they had the graphics had to be perfectly aligned. I said, this ain't gonna stick for a day, because it was removable vinyl. So it was removable unlaminated. You know, so I just called him up. I said, I have no liability. You know, I'll do my best, but it ain't gonna stick. And sure as shit, the next day, everything was lifting. White adhesive, just, it was horrible.
Yeah,
so everything
I
fit.
gotta just...
But the guy who was kind of in the middle, who got the job, who kind of was putting it around, he was panicking, because I totally made everyone aware that it was going to fail, and it failed. So he was like, what do I do? And I said, you got to get these reprinted, but you have to use, this was 2003 or something like that. I said, you got to use IJ 180. It's the best film out there. You got to pay the money for it. And he's like, okay. And my buddy who did the printing was out of town. So he's like, who do I get? I said, I don't know who you get, but you got to figure it out. He's like, well, we have a printer in house. We'll figure it out. I'm like, okay, cool. So they scrapped the things. They came back, and I went back on a Saturday. And this is totally last minute pressure. I show back up, and there's 6 boxes, and they're 4x8 boxes. 4x8 boxes, and they're this wide. And I was like, what the hell? Because, you know, we get a box of vinyl and you roll it out. Yeah. And I was like, what the hell is this? So I open a box, and his team had taken IJ 180 and taken a 2D print file of it, and they cut the shapes out of the back fender, and it was just a 2D rendering of the car. And it was all pre-masked and masking tape, so that the side of the side of the car all pre-masked together, 2D. And I just said, okay, this is 2D. And the guy was like, it's gonna work, right? And I'm like, I kind of explained to him, I said, dude, this fender comes out like this far, and that means this material is gonna be like this short on the sides. And he just kind of looked at me, and he got really quiet, because it was like 40 grand that he spent out of his own pocket to make this.
Oh my God.
Because this, you know, and I said, it ain't gonna work. And he just started crying, and I held him on my shoulder, and he just was sobbing, because I think he went bankrupt after that. Yeah. He lost his whole business. Gosh. And that was like, that was kind of like, I was like, this ain't the business for you, buddy.
No,
yeah,
that's awful.
It was horrible, but I mean, it's just, that's kind of I don't know if that's a perfect example of that question, but that was one of those moments.
That's a big
yeah,
that was painful though.
Yeah,
you know?
But the thing about that is the fail wasn't on something you did.
No, I know, but it's like I try to coach him, but in my wildest dreams, I didn't think he was gonna fucking pre-mask it together. I was wild. Do you guys have any stories then? Or?
I have one that involves Jim, and that was when we were doing the Coca-Cola cars for the Pate Petit Le Mans race in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
And Coca-Cola was getting back together with Porsche because they're both out of Atlanta, Georgia. And they were coming together. They had done it in the 80s and, you know, with the racing, and they were coming back together. But the color red that they wanted was a specific color red.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the vinyl that they wanted, which was the color, hadn't been made in over a year.
Ooh.
And we couldn't find the vinyl. And I finally found the vinyl, but it was old vinyl. So we wrapped the entire car, and it failed.
It was feeling right away.
Because it was just dry.
It was bad.
Yeah, it just would come off. And I mean, you're coming around the edges and everywhere. I mean, it just, and the car's done and it's ready, and it was for a photo shoot. Remember?
Yeah, I got some great photos before it failed. That was good.
Yeah. Yeah, and it totally failed. And fortunately, I was able to convince them because a combination of people did a total of 6 of them.
Okay.
You know, you think one car, you know, but there were 3 race cars, there were 3 backup cars. Then there was this car for the television commercial, and then there was another 2 show cars. So I think more than that.
Right.
So I was like, we have to have something else. Yeah. And they finally conceded that we could use a different type of vinyl.
That was a lifesaver.
Yeah, it was. It really was. But it was, and here, yeah, I don't even talk about the other fail. It was too epic, but, you know, in front of a client. But yeah, that to me was like, oh my gosh, you know, here we've done this. It's ready to go. And it was.
I thought one was way more trivial than either one of yours. Mine was not near as cool. But a client called me and said, this was before shops, this when I was a garage rapper. And he said, look, I got some 3M vinyl and I want it on my car. And I was like, okay. He sent me pictures. It looked cool. And he shows up with the vinyl. And the crazy thing is it came in, it felt like paper. And the vinyl, it wasn't vinyl at all. It was like sticky paper, and the back had stamped 3M, just random, all over the back. Paper. Yeah, it was all over the back, and I was like, man, you know, I can't put this on. He said, man, we gotta at least try to put it on. He's like, I'll pay you the money, you put it on. I said, man, it's paper. This is paper. So I put it on, and it failed. It failed right in front of him. It's talking about something failing right in front of the customer. It failed.
Immediately.
Yeah.
It was luckily not of the. Well, quick. Okay, I got a really quick one. So I wrapped a bus. I used to do, you know, a lot of tour buses. Mm-hmm. And so I wrapped this bus, and it was for 112, band 112, and I forgot this other band. So they're going on tour, and they give me this vinyl, and I start wrapping the bus, and I call my guys because I work for 2 brothers up in Money Earn Mount Vernon, and I said, something's wrong with this vinyl. It ain't sticking. Like it ain't sticking. So I don't know what happened. And they said, yo, Pity Man, just put it on. I'm like, dude, it ain't sticking. They said, yo, Pity Man, just put it on. I'm like, all right. So the bus drivers, dude, this is late at night, Brooklyn RV place. They drive out. The guys get a call. The guys get to Jersey City. They've been driving for like 2 hours, or like not even an hour and a half or whatever, some like mid Jersey, like Cherry. And all of a sudden they went to go to the bathroom and they looked at the buses and half the graphics are gone, just gone. And I kept on thinking, imagine driving behind that bus and a 12-foot sheet comes off the bus and just goes right on your windshield or something like that. Like half the bus was gone. Yeah. And the crazy thing is they then flew me to Augusta, and this is when the Masters was going on, and I wrapped the bus next to the fucking Masters, and I was in a grass field on a scaffold putting the stuff on and then wrap it. But that was, anyway. Man. Jim, you're next.
Oh wait, I gotta tell you, I'm gonna give away a secret. Okay. There's a company called Arrow, and they created vinyl. But the thing about carbon fiber is it doesn't absorb heat. So when you put a piece of vinyl on paint or something and you heat it up, the paint metal heats up, it makes the glue have contact and stick. Well, carbon fiber doesn't do that. It doesn't absorb any heat. So it's much harder to stick to. So Arrow was having problems with getting their material to stick on the vehicles. So Alonso, you might have heard him from F1, about him from F1.
I know about that guy.
Yeah, he took a year off and he was racing Daytona. 24, and he come over from Europe, and they had 2 beautiful cars, and they came to test, and the Arrow was coming off the car. I mean, it was just coming off the car. It wasn't sticking to the car. So they called me and they said, hey, what can we do about this, you know? And So me and a couple of my guys go up there, and the aero guy's there, and everybody's there. What are you going to do? And I said, well, the adhesive obviously isn't strong enough for the carbon because it doesn't, because he's saying you got to have heat to react it and all this. And I'm like, well, you're not going to have that. And what can we do? What can we do? And I'm thinking, well, and it's white. The car's white with all these colors and chrome all over it. And so I said, we'll take care of it. We'll take care of it. And so I said to Chris, go get the 3M vinyl. And so we wrapped the car in 3M white vinyl. It stuck perfectly. And then we put the aero colors on top of it. Never lifted on the race, but it worked perfect.
There's a reason why I haven't heard of Aero then.
Well, no, I think they're still out. You talked about it the other day. They're still, what used to drive me nuts is they'd show up at the track and give the vinyl away. They'd give rolls and rolls of vinyl away to the teams and say, hey, use this. And then they want me to use it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to use it. So I don't have anything good or bad to say. I just say in this particular case, when it's not sticking, what do you do? Yeah. You got less than 2 weeks before the race, and you got all the cars and the backup parts to do, and you're standing there, and right outside of Daytona in DeLand at the airport going, what are we going to do?
You got to do it. All right, Jimmy, next question.
All right, so never have I ever had a crazy rich customer with unbelievable demands.
Here, here.
I think we've all had that.
That's what makes life so enjoyable.
Yeah, it does.
You might have I don't know, who goes first?
Go ahead.
You know what? Actually, I take it. Maybe I should. He didn't have any crazy demand. It was just the richest customer I ever dealt with was the Prince of Brunei, and I didn't even know he's the prince. He flew me in, and then it turns out he was the prince, and it was just wild. And I was wrapping. He had 7 guys he hired, and they were just wrapping the cars for his friends, and they'd wrap the cars every month. And we wrapped a car like a Mini Cooper in gold in chrome. And then at the end, I said, "Who is this for?" And the guy was like 26, 27. He's like, "For my son." I said, "How old's your son?" And he's like, "He's 8." And then afterwards, he called me back. He's like, and I was at the airport. A week later, he called and said, "My son has decided to keep the Mini Cooper for another week because he likes it so much." And I was like,
Right.
yeah, fantastic. But that was
Wow.
the richest customer. But I don't know, that's not great. Okay, richest demand.
Oh,
Richest customer, biggest demand.
It wasn't so much the biggest. It was the CEO of Patron, and Ed, and he wanted me to do something with chrome. And I had done things with chrome, on flat surfaces and stuff, but it just wasn't, feasible to wrap it and compound curve and all that stuff. And then this material came out, and it was like, I knew I had in my mind how to make it work because he had to print on it too.
Was that the one from Avery, the Conform Chrome?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to help develop it. That was cool.
Yeah, and it had limitations and stuff, and they wanted it printed.
Yeah.
To be printed, the design, this real cool design printed on it. And I knew I could do it. I figured out I could do it, but I couldn't afford it. Because you got to sample it. So I just called Ed up and I said, "Ed, I can do your chrome car. Let's do your chrome car." And he said, "Cool," and he gave me the deposit, and I was able to buy the material to do it. And then, yes, it did work. Both cars, we did 3 or 4 cars, and they won the Petite Le Mans.
Wow.
So it was mega.
Driving with a chrome on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Because everybody else was blind.
Yeah. Because after that, they said all chromes, colored chromes were okay, but the old-fashioned chrome was, not as a full. It was a full wrap, the whole entire car. So every angle it was hitting it, the whole day.
I'm sure.
They're racing. That people were like complaining, but that was for me, I would say, somebody demanding something. Well, not demanding, but he always, talking about it that he wanted it, and then being able to do it, for him and accomplish that. That to me was, you have a lot of exotic people like you, doing things for, but really in racing, everybody is, or they wouldn't be racing.
Sure.
Absolutely. And I learned a long time ago, all the joyful, happy stories and all, you just kind of keep them to yourself.
Well, I mean, the people who are high up look to see if you can keep a secret. If you keep a secret, they hire you back.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Jim, what's your story?
So I was sitting around the shop one day, and a company called and said, we've got some camo we want to wrap a house with. I'm like, a whole house? Yeah, it's a house. It's a house trailer actually, and it's in the middle of Alabama. And I was like, let's do it. Let's do it. It was like 75 degrees. I'm thinking, oh, that's perfect. So I jump in my car and I start heading over. And when I get over there, the temperature started dropping. It's like the first day it was like 40 degrees. And I pull up to this trailer. It's a big double wide with a big deck out front. Beautiful property. It was like amazing, big, nice, beautiful barn. And I was like, cool. I'm wrapping away, and it was freaking freezing. So I'm putting the bottle on. This guy walks up behind me and says, hey, what's up? And I was like, and turn around. I'm like, cool, man. What's up? And he said, hey, I'm Bob Ritchie. And I'm like, first of all, I knew who it was when he walked up. It's not Bob, it's Kid Rock.
Right.
So this is Kid Rock's trailer, and we're sitting there. So I go out there and start talking to him. He's like, yeah, we got to have this ready for a photo shoot. The next day it's like 30 degrees. So anyway, we got it wrapped. We got the house trailer wrapped. We wrapped his barn doors. We wrapped his Defender. We wrapped all kind of stuff. His toilet. He had a toilet. It was a new toilet.
Okay.
So we wrapped a toilet, and he put the toilet on this deck, and it's this cooler. So he put his beer and ice in the toilet. So in the video, he's like shooting guns off his deck and reaches in the toilet and grabs a beer out of the toilet.
So you got to watch the video.
Yeah, I've seen the video. I didn't get to watch it be made.
Oh, I thought you were there on the set.
No. We were there for before the video and stuff, and turned this house trailer. It's double wide. You think of double wide house trailer, but this thing, I looked in the window and it's got Viking appliances, granite everywhere. It's not your typical trailer, but
That would have been hard to wrap though, with all the intricacies of it.
yeah, it was a crazy little wrap, but it was camo, so it's real easy to hide stuff. It was for mossy oak.
Okay.
And it was a really cool.
What a great idea.
Yeah, it was super cool. So I did one, and then like 5 years later, my friend in Nashville calls me, Jamie Mulligan. He called me and said, man, I just got a call from Kid Rock. I got to wrap a trailer just like you just wrapped.
That's awesome.
So it was super cool because it was. So he did one in there, and it was awesome. We got to do 2 trailers just alike.
We got to get a toilet with a little cooler right now.
Yeah.
I know it.
Yeah.
And what was super cool about it is like, yeah, we could probably, if it's too cold, we can go to my friend's house. His barn has a heater in it. And I said, oh, really? Who is it? Bo Cephas, my friend, Hank Williams Jr. and Ted Nugent. So the 3 of them had property all connected together, a big hunting camp. And it was Kid Rock, Ted Nugent, and Hank Williams Jr. But I didn't get to meet them at that time. I met Ted Nugent later, but I haven't ever met Hank Williams Jr., but that would have been super cool.
You said you had one more story?
Well, no, I thinking of that toilet thing there.
Thinking of toilet.
I had a client that had me do an alien hand coming out of the toilet, with the tentacles and the stuff like that. Wow. And then, of course, one of the first things I did years and years ago, but it's been done millions of times since. But I took the toilet seat and with decoupage, and and you make a template out of it, and then you pour it with the resin, and then you put the bob wire inside it, and it's a bob wire toilet seat, that type of thing. I did that for a client once too. In the early days when you did more than just vinyl, you were just trying to do artwork, painting stuff on walls and doing all kinds of stuff like that. But yeah.
Say, why don't we go? We have 3 more questions. Dave, you got one. I got one. Jimmy got one.
Never have I ever worked on a vehicle or object that had a great story behind it.
I was in a unique situation, but I don't know if it was kind of tied to the object. Does that count?
Yeah.
Okay.
You got to go first.
Okay, good.
I can't think.
Okay, we were talking earlier about Paul Newman. Okay, when he did a movie, he would get sponsorship so he could go race a car, because he loved racing. Mm-hmm. And so I would get to do the artwork design for the movie, and most of the time I had no idea what the movie was. They wouldn't tell you or have a clue. And that's how we did the flames on the car, because he was going to be doing a movie called Cars, and they couldn't tell you anything about it. So they just said, do 50s flames on it, hot rod flames, and just do that on it. So as time went on, they were going to make these paper mache type cars for the different stars, and they were those kind that you push around and they display them places and stuff. And we're like, but they weren't going to do a Doc Hudson, and he played Doc Hudson.
Right.
Okay. So we were like, well, Paul Newman is like the biggest star that's still alive today. You got to do a race car for him, a Doc Hudson car for him.
Sure.
And oh no, not going to do that. And so my friend Kevin Jeanette said, let's make a race car, Doc Hudson race car for Paul Newman. And so he got Richard Petty Company, and they gave us an old NASCAR truck. We took the top off of it. We put a big block, motor in it from the old days. I did the motor, I put behind the motor there, I put the throat with the Larnex and all that in it, I put the heart on the top, the beating heart on the top of the motor and all that stuff. And the whole time we were building it, we had, we were, as it would in progress, we would put different decals on it and take pictures of it. I'm getting ahead of myself, because what we did is Doc Hudson was a cartoon car. So Kevin had to take two different Hudsons. He found two and bought two different Hudsons, the smaller version and the longer version, and made molds of the side and made a fiberglass car of Doc Hudson. Okay? And we did the face, we did everything. And now put it on the car for Paul Newman to race around Lowe's Motor Speedway for the grand opening of the Cars movie at the Lowe's Motor Speedway, okay? For that whole day, giving all the other stars rides around the thing. So so here comes time now, the car, they're done, and now I got to do it. I got to, make, do all the bumpers, all the fenders, the lights, everything was all vinyl. It was all done in vinyl. And then, of course, we perforated film for his eyes on the front of the car, and then the sides and everything, so nobody could see in the car. So you're inside this car, because we got to drive it all around, because you had to drive it to the events and drive to the things. We're driving all around, and people, and then we have to wait, because they did, they had the Regis and Kelly show with Paul Newman, and it was done at Lowe's Motor Speedway, so we had to drive it to that. So we're just kind of sitting in the car, and nobody could see us, and we're watching the people stare at the car, listening to talk about the car and how incredible it was. And so he's going around the track, and the problem is if you go over 150 miles an hour, the front end starts lifting. Okay, so we had to for him to drive around the track, we had to make another deck lid that had a wing on it, and then we had to put a little valance on the front. But we said, Paul, don't drive this over 150 miles an hour, because you have NASCAR. The car was a NASCAR. It had to be approved, before we could even drive it. Period, on a racetrack.
Sure.
But it got approved to 150. First lap out, 170 miles an hour. He's wrapping around that track, and Paul was very reserved. He's a very reserved, man. And he comes back, and they pull that net off, and the smile on his face was like this big, man. And what was so cool was all the guys from the Cars movie were there, and they'd made this cartoon.
Oh, that's cool.
They made this cartoon, and it was real, and it was coming down the racetrack. So, they're like jumping up and down, laughing, and they come to the car, and they're like, do you believe this? The cartoon had come to life and become this, it was.
I hope you have pictures of that, because I want to put it over this.
Yeah. And John Lasseter, he was the guy, that from Pixar.
Yeah.
And I had met John Lasseter in 1994 at a graphics show when it hit. Actually it was 91 and 94, and by 94 they had Pixar, and they were a fledgling company doing 3D animation and stuff like that. And when I reminded him, because he was lit up, he was like, he couldn't believe this. And when I reminded him, I said, hey, do you remember? It was 91. I said, do you remember Graph 1991. I said, do you remember when we were sitting around in those comfortable chairs talking about all the incredible things we were seeing, and we had just seen a teacup that had been matte with reflection on it? You remember that? And he goes, yeah. And I said, did you ever think you'd be where you were now? And he goes, No.
That's awesome.
So that was so much fun that day.
Oh,
And then
that's
of course the movie was premiered that night at the Lowe's Motor
Huge
Speedway.
hit too.
Oh, it was magnificent. Yeah.
Our
it was
neighbor's
big
kid
time.
had to watch it like every day.
Yeah.
For like 5 years.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and that was Kevin Jeanette at Gunner Racing that built the car, and had the vision, and we all jumped aboard and just did it, for fun, just to create it and have it done and experience it, and it was just an amazing.
That is super cool.
What a great story. Do you want to go next, or you want?
Hell no, I'm not following that. I don't have shit for that.
I don't know if mine's different though. It's kind of different, but it's kind of so. Basically, in New York, I worked for this one guy, and this one guy, I don't know if I want to say names. So basically, he was Italian, so he did a lot of Italian jobs, like garbage industry, So it was like you kind of smelt the taste of the little mafia, right? So I worked for another company he was associated with, and so one day he got a call me. He's like, "Dude, there's this TV show, The Apprentice, and the two teams are vying for it, and they want to design and they want to wrap a van, and the next day they want to drive around Manhattan and do whatever campaign and compete. So the idea is like, can you wrap 2 vans in 5 hours?" I'm like, "I do it all the time. Let's go."
No problem.
So he said, "You're going to be on TV. Do you mind?" NBC. And I said, I've never been on TV before, so let's go for it. So I go to this location, and this other company that I worked for had a right-hand man. And I'm not going to say his name, but he was always just like, he could do anything. Like he was fixing walls and doing stuff, and he would sometimes wrap. So he just always super nice guy. And so I do this job. I'm ready to do this job. I'm getting, and the vans show up. And all of a sudden, like I'm talking to him, and then the door opens up, like that door opens up over there, and the NBC crew comes in. I'm looking at the crew, and then I go to look at him, and he's literally running, like out the door. And so I don't think anything of it. TV crew comes in, I wrap the vans, 4 hours, they leave. And as soon as that door shuts, he comes back out. And I'm like, "Dude, you have to tell me what that's about." He's like, "You don't know who I am, do you?" And I'm like, "I don't know who you are." And he's like, "I'm so-and-so. I was the enforcer for that family. I'm in FBI protection right now. If they see where I'm working now, everyone in this room dies."
Wow.
And I was like, "Tell me some stories." And he's like, "What do you want to hear?" I was like, "I don't know." And he would, I'm not going to talk about him now, but he was telling me stories about how he used to get his pay. It was wild. Like, I mean, just to hear him talk and the stories, and then you start to put all the pieces together, and then, but just that, like, he just didn't know I was standing next to a guy who probably killed 200 people. 300
Oh
people.
my gosh.
It was wild. Yeah.
Wow, that's an intense story.
Nice guy though.
Intense.
But different. But that's the kind of. Do you have a story? Or you
No, okay, you got the world's greatest gangster. You got the world's greatest kids movie. No, I have nothing.
All right, 2 more questions.
Wow.
Never have I ever seen a vinyl material do something completely unexpected.
Oh,
Well, fail.
I mean, the blimp thing was unexpected for me. I never seen a backlit perf.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was unexpected for me, but I don't have anything.
I mean, there's we talked about Frank Fowler's earlier, right? And so I was lucky enough to kind of have a relationship with him to a certain point, and I consider him a friend. He was a really cool guy. So anyway, he was developing a material called cheetah wrap. So he had this idea of almost like a DIY vision for a vinyl film that was low cost, easy for people to put on, or whatever. So I kind of could see how he went through the different iterations, thicker or thinner, or different stuff like that. So he created one, and we wrapped his Rolls-Royce Phantom, and long story for that. But basically, it has a very complicated mirror, and he's like, 1 piece. I'm like, "You want the whole thing wrapped in 1 piece?" He's like, 1 piece. And I was like, "There's no way that's gonna stay." But took it, heated it, whatever, and it stayed. And I was like, weird. So then Charlie Trio, Oklahoma City, he's based in Oklahoma City, runs a great shop with his wife, Jill, right? And he does a lot of Frank's raps. So over the years, when Frank wants a rap, he calls Charlie. And then Charlie, right after that, had to wrap something for Cheetah Wrap. And Frank was like, some crazy object. Frank was like, 1 piece. And Charlie was like, "No way." And Frank was like, 1 piece. Wrapped in 1 piece, and Charlie called him up. He's like, "Dude, it stayed." Like, so it was 3 mil film. So it's the thinnest color change film out there, and had a new adhesive that's made by a company. The liner is made by a company in Germany that we do a lot of work for. I can't say who they are. So it was a new adhesive that was topography based. So when you heat it, it actually kind of wets out and grips extra hard, which is pretty cool. And in combination of that new adhesive with a 3 mil film, then if you got it on and you heated it, it held.
Yeah.
And we have my buddy who makes the monkey strips. He has this weird corrugated shape, and he would always take film and just push it in and see if it held up. So he'd push it in, post-heat it. And out of like something like 70 different types of film, the only one to hold that shape was cheetah wrap.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, just so you're just like,
Yeah, you
I mean,
couldn't believe it.
and it's one of the cheapest films out there. But good luck taking it off after 2 or 3 years.
Wow. Well, I would say I used a material that nobody else knew it could do that. And when I used to go to Le Mans to, do the cars at Le Mans, and Germany, I worked with the Audi team.
Where were you at?
I was at Le Mans, the race, 24-hour race.
Le Mans.
Yeah.
In France.
In France, yeah.
Okay.
And I was working with Audi, and
Audi dominated that race for a long time. Right?
Oh yeah. And we were coming from America with the champion car, which was an American car, but I did their car, and then I helped the other team. Okay. And they had 3 cars that were painted silver, and they had accent colors on them. And they said, would you please put the accent colors on these cars? Because they showed up without them, and they showed me a picture of what they look like and whatever. And the accent colors were on the mirrors, on the front nose cap, and on the roll bars, okay, and on the wing. So the flat parts. yeah. And I'm used to regular calendared vinyl.
Sure.
I'm like, okay, and then the catch was, and you don't use fluid. And I was like, what? And they didn't tell me anything about a heat gun or anything like that. So I'm sitting there pulling and stretching this stuff, and it's stretching, it's compound curving, it's doing everything. And you're manhandling it, and I'm blown away. I can't believe this. And it's heavy duty, so all the stones and the debris on the road bounce off of it. It doesn't rip it, break it, or anything. And I don't know what it is, but on the box, it said Aurifal. And I was like, man, this stuff is amazing. I can't believe this stuff. And I couldn't figure out, it was the Germans brought it over and whatever, and they said it's made in Germany and da-da-da-da, and so I just wrote it off. Well, I won't get into the long story, but years later, I was at a wrap class. I was told I had to take a wrap class, and there really wasn't any wrap. It was, 3M crap stuff that with water-based printing that looked like Sarah, I didn't want anything to do with it. It looked like a screen porch when you put it on, and it was just nasty. I didn't want anything to do with it. So but the guy said, I'll pay for, my supplier said, I'll pay full boat for you to go to do this. Well, the night before a hurricane came and so it was in Jacksonville at the Oracal place, and they didn't have, they have only a little bit of wrap material. They didn't get their shipment to wrap the cars in that 3 or whatever it was. And so I look up on the balcony on the 2nd floor, and I see a couple of rolls of Aurifal, and I was like, let's use that. They didn't know what it was. They go, oh, no. We brought that back from Europe. We don't use that. And so we ended up wrapping the cars with that.
You remember which number?
Yeah, the 870?
Was it cut vinyl or was it color change film?
No, it was color change film that wasn't here.
So it was a 970?
No, it was the 870. It was a real...
870?
Yeah, it was the 870.
Do you know 870?
Yeah, it was the 870, and it was really thick, and it was really sticky, and it was really aggressive. So we used that. So anyway, I worked forever to try to get some rolls of that. I finally got them to sell me 5 rolls of it, to which I wrapped 5 cars for the 2006 Daytona race.
That was back in the day. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so then later that year, the Porsche Spider came out, and they wanted it red. So I still had material, and I went there. Well, the guys at Oracal came and they said, hey, can we come over and see how that stuff works? And I said, yeah, please. And I was a painter, and there was no such thing as splicing and making seams and stuff. And this material, it was so aggressive and so sticky, I could wrap the entire pieces of the car without any seams other than where it, the body panels ended. Sure. Which is unheard of, but it did it. And so we're working it, and we're doing it, all this. And by then we knew about heat too, but the heat was used afterwards to calm the material down.
So you're just beasting that shit.
Beasting it, okay? and so these guys show up, and they're standing behind us, and they're not saying anything. And we're working, and I'm like, what's the matter with these guys? Why aren't they, And I turn around and I said, well, so what? What's going on? And they go, we didn't know it could do that. Because it was just like, wow, it looked, and it looked like paint. And
You know what's amazing? I don't know if you've been in a situation where I gave a private workshop for a manufacturer. I'm not going to say who they are, but I gave a workshop to the people who make the material.
yeah.
And I went in and I was like, I did recessed areas. And I did a mirror, and they were just like, I didn't know it could do this. Like, just like, it's like, you're making the material. Like, how do you not know that it does that? It's crazy that they just don't know what they got.
Yeah,
but it's also, I like that because we don't know what we got. We do stuff with the vinyl that maybe you're not supposed to do with it. And all of a sudden, I mean, you've done that a million times.
Oh, a bunch of times. I guess the first time was it was 3M material, and it was in the mid '80s, I would say.
Okay.
So 3M made 180, the screen porch material. They made it in colors.
Yeah, 180.
I remember that. It was
Yeah.
stiff.
Yeah, so they made
And it was
blue,
semi-transparent. It was like
vivid blue,
transparent,
which
right?
was the one I used actually. They made the tomato red. They made
remember that.
vivid red, whatever it was. They had like all these colors.
Had
It was
that
180
CV
dash, and then the color was the number.
And
01
does
was
it have CV1 or?
oh yeah, CV1.
Yeah.
So this guy, he had a trucking company, and he had one truck, and he said, "I want this truck blue." He said, "Could that be done?" And I'm thinking, he had a roll. We had a roll of the 3M Vivid Blue, and I'm thinking, I think it could probably be done. So me and my buddy started putting it on, and we wrapped the fenders and the whole nose of it with this 180 Vivid Blue, and it was. I'm not going to say it looked good. It wasn't a wrap,
Well, it wasn't
but
shiny
it was
either.
blue. It was a
Kind of
satin
pasty.
finish.
kind of satin.
Pasty.
satin finish
Yeah, I call
with
it
a nice
pasty.
little texture to it, but it went from white to blue. It was an old white vehicle. So I would say that was probably my first vehicle wrap
That's
in the
impressive.
mid '80s, and it was a little rough. It had a lot of seams. So the stuff that we had wasn't very. It was only like 2 foot,
Yeah, I remember.
maybe about 2 foot. I think they made wider, but when it first came out, I think they had a 1 foot and then a 2 foot, and then it actually eventually got to a 4 foot.
Right.
I don't know if it ever got wider than that, but
That stuff was stiff, man.
it was stiff. But you put a little heat on it, and we only had torches, not only those starting torches. We had to like start them with a little.
Dude, I remember that metal thing.
Come on, and that's the torches we used. And I had one guy just like lay in the heat, and one guy was holding it, and we did the fenders, and probably the fenders were in maybe 3 strips.
Yeah.
Because when it got wrinkly, we just cut it off and then put another strip on and then cut it off. But when you stood back, 15 feet away, it was a perfect color change.
What doesn't look like a perfect
was
color
so
change
perfect.
from 15 feet?
But that was, I would say, my very first color change,
Yeah.
and it was pretty horrendous up close, but that's how it started. And I would say I didn't think a material could do that.
Yeah.
So that's my one moment that I thought, damn, I didn't think
Yeah.
you could wrap a curved surface with material.
I just want to just
Any material.
quickly mention that you were talking about that. So back in the 1996, when I was wrapping, it was a propane torch. There's no self-igniting propane
No.
torches. So you have the metal thing that you
Yeah.
do this. And I was a smoker back in the day. So I just remember being up on a scaffold, like just wrapping a barricade, and you get the thing and you go, and then with the torch, you're like, just gangster, just like back in the day, dude. Oh, and I used to use female Velcro in my school. Let's talk about like
Yeah, that was my
female
first buffer.
I had one squeegee for 7 years. I had a 3M PA1 squeegee. I don't know where I got it.
Wow.
And I didn't know where to buy another one, so I just guarded it with my life, except for in Chicago.
Yeah.
And then basically I just had that propane torch, and I had those cheap Chinese. I used to go to a Chinese hardware store across the street on Canal Street and grab my knives, and that's how I wrapped for 7 years. You don't need much more.
No.
That's so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tools, particular tools, so a real quick thing was, I had a blue squeegee, and I figured out a way to sharpen welding rods to make needles, and then I took a scrub brush and ground it down. This is how I
What's a
figured
scrub
out.
brush?
A scrub brush with
Oh, I
a
see. Yeah,
handle.
yeah, okay,
you
yeah.
scrub toilets with it and stuff. Yeah, that was what I did the rivets with. Okay, I did this for 2 years at least. Like I was thinking I was Mr. Magic. I was doing these. And then one day, a box of 3M material came in, and it had these blue needles, and it had a rivet brush. And right when I saw a rivet brush, the world changed for me.
Yeah.
I said, oh, that's what I was trying to make. I knew exactly what it was, and it had gold squeegees in there. And I was like, and then every box of material would come with all these tools.
That's great.
So you think about, So that's the only way you could get tools because there was nowhere to order them
nowhere
from.
to order.
No.
It came with the vinyl kits. It would have
Yeah,
a
it did.
needle, a rivet brush, and gold squeegees.
Which is super smart. in
and
a
that
way.
was amazing to me. Like that was from a company in Auburn, Alabama. I was talking about. They
Sparco used to. They'd give you a white one, the crappy white ones.
Yeah, well,
And-
that's what it became
yeah,
later.
and I think,
yeah,
and what it was it? Who gave you the gold ones? Because it was like,
that was 3M. Is the only
yeah,
one that made
3M. 3M gave you the
That's it.
gold ones. So it was a gold squeegee, but the gold squeegee was too hard.
Oh,
Really?
no, it
I love
wasn't.
that.
Oh,
The
I
gold
hate-
squeegee was.
I like the
the-
white one.
Now the gold squeegee was for the rappers that did trailers.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, not
Oh,
cars,
yeah,
not
yeah.
cars like
Yeah.
you were doing, because
Yeah.
you needed the softer squeegee.
Yeah, the gold squeegee
But
was
ours,
better.
one blue squeegee you wear out on one side of a trailer. A gold squeegee lasts 50 trailers.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true because they were hard. They were too
yeah.
hard for me.
And the only way to sharpen a gold squeegee with another gold squeegee,
Yeah.
because you have to sharpen them on
Yeah,
that.
you sharpen. Yeah, I
And
remember.
you
that.
make get all that little nicks
So
out
that
of them.
squeegee I had for 7 years. By the end of 7 years, it was
Yeah.
like
Well,
this
my best squeegee ever, Jim gave it to me, and it was a used red one, but it had a cool shape to
Oh,
it.
yeah, it was the.
And,
the
and
Pro Tools
And I
Yeah,
and I
Pro
and then
Tools, yeah.
and then I got the banana
buffer.
and I put that on there. You know, kept putting that on there, and that combination to me was
That's magic.
That was amazing.
I mean, we're coming back
So
to this.
thank you.
We're coming back to this. I mean, remember the foam roller brush, right?
Yes.
Discovered that, and I, 1+1 that made me good money. But then when the Rolly Pro came out,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
and I just think the Rolly Pro is too narrow. You have to hold it with your hand, right?
Yeah,
And
that was dumb.
As soon as I saw that, my one thought was like, God fucking damn it! All I had to do was come out with a black foam roller with a neon handle, call it the rivet hammer, and I could sell it for $20 and make it for $5. And I
all
could
about
have
just doing it.
So, but after that, that was like 2001. When did the Rolly Pro come out? 2004 or 5 or whatever. But as soon as I saw that, I was like, I'm never going to be last. So first DVD series, me. Monkey strips, I'm the seller of North America banana buffers, to your point. First online platform, Rap Institute. I want to be the first. The Ford Rap program. I want to be the first. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not going to be last anymore. Because, think of the Gary, Knifeless Tape. What does he do? What is he doing right now? What is
Who knows? What islands
the
is
guy?
it?
I know the two guys who started, Oracle's a family company. How are they doing?
Yeah.
Pretty good. Stan Avery started Loan and created Avery Dennison. You know what I'm saying? So my point is like it was inspiring. So you can do 1+1. You get a log and a screw, but I think you're doing pretty good right now, and you've done pretty well too. You know what I'm saying? So it's taking that innovation and that passion, but also, how do you scale it? Where do you go? And you obviously focused on Porsche and designs, and Jim, you focused on creating a beautiful wrap shop close to your house, which is cool.
Well, installing, that's what did it. Installing, just try to bring it in closer.
100%. And I knew that, my wife pushed me to training, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
magnificent. I mean, everything lined up for you. For all of us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because with me, it was art. It was art. I wanted to do art,
Right.
and I hated painting. I hated all that stuff. And in America, all they wanted was it to match their couch. They didn't care. They just wanted to match their couch.
I get it.
And it was very frustrating. And then all of a sudden, the cars came, and the vinyl came, and it was like, I love cars.
Well, it was the right place at the right
And the
time. I
vinyl,
think we're all very fortunate too.
Yeah, and every car was a piece of art. It was a work of art, and you would just, you couldn't
but
wait
you
to
took
do the
that-
next one.
I think why you're so successful and why you're so successful is you take your passion and people can see it, and you're attracting people to your passion. All your famous customers and all the things you did is because they see that you have passion, but you also have the skills to back it up. You do the same thing for you. You can at least stay awake long enough to.
I can stay awake for a long time.
Long time.
Which is pretty good. But speaking of staying awake, I don't know if everyone watching right now is still awake, but this has been, but this has been super special. I've been really enjoying all these stories and stuff like that. But at a certain point, we got to have dinner.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that'd be nice.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys have anything else to say, but this has been really special. It's been a huge honor for me to sit with this tech.
Same.
All of
for
us.
me.
All of us.
This is awesome.
I think I've known Jim. I've not known you.
Yeah.
I've known who you were.
Sure.
But I did not know you, and it's been just a blast to be here.
Cool. It's been cool. It's been really special. So a big thank you to the Rap Institute crew for putting this
Oh,
together.
big time.
Having you
big
here
time.
for a couple days. It was a super special. Guys, I got a half. So I've done 1.5 beers. Jim, you're on your.
Just on my second beer.
Okay. And are you hydrated right now?
I don't
You're
know,
doing pretty good?
I don't know what I've had.
I think we're all okay.
I don't know.
I just want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank you for putting this together.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for being an inspiration in my life. And
Thank you.
When I met you, I was like blown away. This
Yeah.
guy's crazy. It's awesome what he's done. Thank everybody. And
Yeah, and you've saved my
I'm
life on
just-
a few accounts,
yeah,
so
I'm
I'm
just
very thankful.
glad to be here.
For
I'm
you
glad to
and
be
your
in
ability.
this group.
Me too. Cheers, gentlemen.
Definitely, definitely wonderful.
Ciao, guys.
Yes.